Hello and welcome to Indian Road here on Cheyenne and Arapaho Television. We're bringing you this show from Red Rock Canyon in Caddo County. This canyon was shaped by wind and rain and natural forces over hundreds of millions of years. It was a winter camp for Plains tribes before the mid-1800s, and after that, it was a rest stop for weary travelers during the California Gold Rush. In fact, there are places here where you can still see wagon trail ruts in the red sandstone. By the time those wagons made their way here to Oklahoma, most of the buffalo that roamed these plains were almost extinct. But these days they're making a comeback, and the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes are helping to make that happen.
These buffalo eat quite a bit. They eat quite a bit. Well, we most got hit there.
Francis Hamilton likes getting a close look at his herd, just not too close.
You gotta make sure you gotta keep your eyes open. I know you can't just relax around these guys.
Now, if they start charging me, you're gonna let me know, right?
Oh yeah.
You gonna tell me if one sneaks up on me?
You see me dodge, you see me go down, you follow me.
Okay. He says the tribe's buffalo herd is looking better all the time.
They look good. They're all nice and healthy. They look better. Every time we come out here, they look better. They're more plump. We don't want them fat. We want them plump. Nice and plump for the people.
We have like 700, 800 pounds sold to Head Start.
The Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes sell buffalo meat to tribal programs like Diabetes Wellness and Head Start. They also sell it to nearby Darlington School.
It depends on what kind of supply we have up here. Like Diabetes will ask for so many pounds of meat. They don't care if it's ground or brisket or roast or steaks. It's just by weight.
At a store, how much would that run you?
For a pound of burger, it's about $9.
For 3 patties, that would be at $9?
$9. It's very, very good meat. It's lean, it's nutritious, and it's old school for our folks, you know. And
buffalo meat is not the only thing stored in Chester's freezer.
Yeah, it came off of probably about a 18 to 2,200 pound animal.
This hide is just one of many harvested from the animals. It's going to be used for ceremonial purposes. These buffalo skulls, also used by the tribes, can fetch upwards of $200 each from some artists. Sometimes referred to as the Walmart of the Plains, the buffalo provided everything the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes needed for survival in the old days. And that's not an understatement.
Like this was the buffalo tail used as a fly swatter. Like this was the buffalo horn used to pour water. This was a flesher. This was the lower leg of the buffalo that scraped the meat off the hide. This item was the buffalo teeth used as a decoration. This was the bladder that they used to carry water.
There's another pregnant one right here. This one's pregnant.
I love watching them when I come to work and just looking and seeing how beautiful they are, and even the baby calves that we're getting.
Those soon-to-be-born calves will help the herd grow to over 500 in just a few months. That larger number means more responsibility, but it also means more benefits to the tribes.
Today, there's buffalo dealers all over the United States, and they're in it for the money, you know. But this is part of our heritage, our history from yesterday, still here today.
Makes me think about the one about our people back in the day when we're having a hard time rounding them up, and they just had a horseback, and they didn't have the modern facilities that we've got today.
And they probably did a better job.
Yeah, they did. You know, they did an excellent job. You know.
With hits like Oh City, Bobo's Chicken, and Rain Dance, they've become Oklahoma famous. But not long ago, these guys took their brand of native hip-hop to a national audience. Indian Road got the chance recently to sit down with Lil Mike and Funny Bone.
I'm Little Mike.
And I'm Funny Bone. Together
we are Mike Bone.
Where all my crunk natives at?
America might see Mike Bone as an overnight sensation, but most Oklahomans know better.
Choctaw, and a bunch of other stuff. White, Mexican, all kinds of stuff.
These guys have been making their mark all over this state.
I make hits daily. Raps down south. I'm from the Gulf Streets.
Boom! Yeah. You gonna learn today.
Little Mike and Funny Bone have been entertaining audiences for years, but the positive message they share today is a far cry from the one they grew up with. An absent father led to an absence of discipline for Mike.
All I knew was aggression, and I took it out on people, and then when it went from taking it out on people, I don't know what happened, but I started shutting down.
Mike was headed down the wrong road, with his younger brother not far behind.
Growing up without a father is what I knew. So by the time I was old enough to remember, our father was already gone.
At that crucial time in his life, Mike was exposed to Christian rap music and began to express himself through poetry, which led him to his own brand of positive music.
I did a poem at a high school, or no, it was an elementary school, and I did it to a jazz beat, and some kid after that came up and said, "Man, I really liked your rap, that was awesome." And I was telling him, "No, it's not rap, it's not rap." But then I was thinking, maybe I should try rapping.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't long before Funny Bone joined the show.
He would have me fill in some of his spots where he would change the tapes out, and I would go up on stage and tell jokes or do something funny or just to make the crowd laugh. And Funny Bone stands for Fully United, New Nourished, Young Brother of Noble Essence.
The brothers were best known as local artists. That is, until they made the cut on America's Got Talent.
I'm Little Mike. I'm Funny Bone. And together we are Mike Bone.
Mike Bone!
My phone blew up, man. That night it aired. You know what's crazy is the night it aired, we were in Missouri at a youth camp. And they had this thing at the camp called Native Americans Got Talent. And they had us be the judges, and then they wanted us to perform.
The guys were already performing that night to the delight of the national audience, the studio audience, the judges, and even host Nick Cannon. The brothers failed to get past the show's next round, but the national exposure made them household names and Oklahoma celebrities. That meant that they needed to replace their trusty old car.
It was too...
It was an advertisement for us. Before America's Got Talent, we were pushing ourselves, and we had the name on the car, the logo, it's on the taillights, websites on the back. And now, after America's Got Talent, we're kind of trying to hide, we're like, it's too much attention.
Yeah, you can't eat at our favorite spots with that car.
People be pulling into where our car's in and running, trying to find us, and can you take a picture? Oh God.
I'm trying to eat with my family, all right.
It's my mom's birthday, you interrupted.
Then when they get their pictures, everybody start lining up.
Yeah.
It's like, golly,
It's a
there's
lot
a
of
line.
attention. Hey, can we shush real quick?
Getting the attention of young audiences is one of the brothers' main goals these days. Their newfound fame gives them more opportunities to talk to kids about issues affecting them, like bullying.
Just don't take it seriously, because you're better than what they say you are. You're better than whatever they're calling you. Everybody's made the way they are for a reason.
We just, want to put a positive message out there. Anything that the world is putting out there, we're trying to basically hit back.
We the hottest in no city, and y'all wishing y'all did it. And like still we are taking over, and y'all best not forget it. On the mission for that paper, need a hit song maker. And I won't forget the old when your boy hit the makers.
A lot of kids that, just sitting to the side, following the trends, smoking or drinking or both. And they're just sitting to the side, let life pass them by, not even knowing what their future could hold. Their future, they could be somebody big. I'm a redskin to the dead end. The city's where my res is. If you're feeling the sound, it's finna go down, cause I got you bobbing your head again. Bread, I like to fry that. No matter what 49 I'm at. And once you go native, you're never gonna hate it, so be careful when you try that. Native, cause
once a Native American finally finds his roots, he falls in love. And that's what happened to us. Is we were raised in the city and we didn't know anything.
And the way we act, like on America's Got Talent, they were like, I seen comments on the YouTube, it's like, they're awesome, too bad they act black. And you gotta realize, we were raised in Oklahoma City. We were raised around just, you know, black people. You know, we grew up in like on the welfare, homeless almost, and that's who we grew up with, so that's how we speak, this is how we live. And
went to public schools, homie.
We just now, you know, the last 10 years or so been getting into our culture. So don't hate us for that, love us, you know. And it's not an act, this is just how we are. I don't
Singers and rappers may record hundreds of songs over their careers, but are usually remembered for one in particular. Mike Bone knows they will forever be tied to Rain Day.
That was born in 2005. I originally wrote it in high school. It's the beat, man, and just the whole feel of it, and the fact that it has the Native American spirit in it. And I don't know what you call that, but it just gives you a sense of pride, I guess. I have a feeling we'll be doing that for a while. It's one of those songs.
Now I could be wrong, but I'll just bet that that song stays with you the rest of the day. When Indian Road comes back, we'll tell you what the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes have in common with the New York Times. Don't go anywhere.
Michael Adams?
Here.
Michael Adams?
Here.
Michael Adams.
Michael Adams.
Students who miss 18 days of school in any grade risk falling behind and not graduating. Absences add up. Keep track at boostattendance.org today.
Each of Oklahoma's different seasons brings its own beauty. Springtime, though, can bring its share of danger. Last year's devastating tornadoes proved that. But out of that experience came a story of native wisdom that was shared with the world.
Okay, our interviewer's mic'd up. Can you give him
Gordon. Hi, Gordon Yellowman.
Good to see you,
nice
man.
To meet
How are
you?
you?
It began simply enough, almost as if these two men were old friends, reconnecting after many years. Gary England and Gordon Yellowman had never met as professionals, but they shared common experiences as young boys growing up in western Oklahoma.
Chief Yellowman, where were you born?
I was born in Clinton, Oklahoma.
Clinton, Oklahoma. It's kind of out toward my country. Sealing, you ever out there much at Sealing?
Yeah, pretty much. When I grew up, we would always go to Sealing and have our Sundance, our ceremonies there. So when I grew up, our Cheyenne way of life was pretty strong and still is strong today in that area.
Yeah, I can remember the tents out at the old racetrack.
Yeah, through me and him, the connection was made to local guys from small towns, me coming from Watauga, strong Cheyenne community, Sealing, a strong Cheyenne community. Little did we know that our paths would cross in New York. And from the two towns to New York City, being able to share interest in a New York Times magazine. That's totally awesome.
The article, titled "The Weather God of Oklahoma City," chronicles the events of late May of 2013, when massive tornadoes leveled parts of the Moore and El Reno areas. England mentioned to the writer that he'd always wondered how tornadoes affected Plains Indians early on. That writer eventually made contact with Gordon Yellowman of the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes.
And so we started emailing and talking on the phone, and he got very interested, and he asked a lot of questions about our history.
Well, the one thing I regret is, as I'd said in the newspaper to someone in the New York Times, was that I wish I really knew the chief, and regretted that the people I knew back then, the Indians that I knew that were, elderly when I was young, why the fact that I never asked them questions.
Because they were old.
Yeah.
You were young. You
Yeah.
didn't care back then.
Yeah. See, when you get wisdom, nobody wants to listen.
It's always seemed like to me that you all are connected to nature, to space, to everything.
England was curious specifically how the Cheyenne people had survived severe weather on the plains. Surely there had been large tornadoes for hundreds of years.
We have ways of avoiding him, and even though we may not have control of the power, that's him. We have a way to communicate, and a way to have him recognize us as who we are as Cheyenne people. And so with us was the tornado, the cyclone.
Wow.
And he said, I'm gonna always come in this direction. And he said, when I'm approaching, you come out there and talk to me in Cheyenne. And he said, I don't understand English. I can only understand the Cheyenne language when you talk to me that way. And if you ask me for pity, if you say, pity me, my family, my community, my people, then I shall go around you.
Watching the circulation, it is moving toward Mustang right now.
Okay, it's turned a little to the south, a little more to the southeast. So we'll put a different.
There's no denying what happened the night of May 31st, 2013, when the storm, bent on destroying El Reno, suddenly turned.
I started to gather my things together, the things we use in our ritual of how we're supposed to talk to him. And so I knew there was other chiefs and other ceremonial leaders in our community, and they're taught to do this as well.
Gary, it's moving southeast. It's moving southeast, Jerry.
And so we know in harmony that when we're doing these rituals, we're empowering ourselves, but we're empowering that protection, and we're respecting the power of that tornado. And when you talk to him, then he's going to go around you. He's going to have pity on you. And that's what happened that day. And then we were watching it, turned on the TV, watching it, and the meteorologist said, it's turning south, it's going south. Why? It's never done that.
The events of that month will stick with both men for years to come. They may live in different worlds now, but this meeting will keep them forever connected to this state and to each other.
It is just absolutely astounding and fascinating to think about the fact that their relationship with my parents at that grocery store many years ago actually led to he and I crossing paths via the newspaper in New York City. Long trail, but it began back there, crossed. Absolutely amazing.
And coming from the Cheyenne community, he was one of us. So we really I felt comfortable, and I acknowledged that relationship. We knew one another in that aspect, or that given time and moment. It makes me proud to sit here with a professional, a leader, and our weather, learning weather, but broadcasting to our people, communicating to our people. And to me, as a leader, just like you, we have responsibilities. And our responsibility is to take care of our people. And that's what you're doing through this. And so I commend you for that. And I want, on behalf of the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes, I want to say, ha-ho, pivot, you did a good job. And so you're very much appreciated in our communities.
Thank you very much.
Aho,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. All the way to New York City to reestablish a connection made right here in Oklahoma. Next up, we take a road trip for some big-time Indian art. Stick around. you've seen them at the bank, or the courthouse, or even at school. Large wall-size murals, known as section art, can be found all over the state. These scenes of native life were painted by different American artists, and 6 of them were painted by Indian artists from right here in Oklahoma. Let's take a look.
These section murals, I think, are significant documents because they were viewed by the government and by the local people as significant parts of their local history. And they tell us something about who we were and what we thought about who we were.
Barbara Scott could talk for hours about the murals that adorn many post offices in our state. She co-authored a book about them published by Cameron University.
The first part of the book is simply an interpretation with some pictures to interpret what it is that we found.
During the late 1930s and early 40s, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt instituted a number of federal programs designed to put Americans to work and provide a sort of morale boost for the nation. Fine art was to be made available to everyone, not just those who could afford to go to museums and galleries.
Post office were seen kind of like the way we look at malls today. This is where people gathered. And today they gather in malls, but they used to gather in post offices, you know, and talk about the local goings-on, and here they are surrounded by their history on the walls.
Officially named the Treasury Section of Painting and Sculpture, these murals were part of a program referred to as section art. Want to see some? Let's start by taking a trip down south. Marietta's post office mural was painted by Solomon McCombs, a Creek artist born in Eufaula. Painted in 1942, the mural features a Chickasaw family making a traditional meal of meat and corn. McCombs studied art at Bacone College and later at Tulsa Downtown College. Heading east to Colgate, we find one of 2 post office section murals painted by A.C. Blue Eagle. Born near Anadarko, Blue Eagle was Muskogee Creek, Pawnee, and Wichita. He studied at Bacone College, the University of Oklahoma, and later became the director of the art department at Bacone. Making our way up north, we stop in Okemah, where Dick West painted this mural in 1939. West was a Southern Cheyenne artist born near the Darlington Agency. His Cheyenne name translates to light-footed runner. West studied at Bacone, OU, Northeastern Oklahoma State, and Tulsa. He took over the art department at Bacone a few years after Blue Eagle left. To the west, our next stop, Seminole, where we find the other of the 2 murals bearing A.C. Blue Eagle's signature. Painted in 1939, this scene appears almost tropical, leading to speculation that Blue Eagle may have been painting a Seminole scene prior to the tribe's migration from Florida. Another day trip takes us north to Nowata, where Woody Crumbo painted this mural in 1943. Born Woodrow Wilson Crumbo near Lexington, Woody was a Potawatomi artist who studied at Wichita University and the University of Oklahoma. He also served as Bacone College's art program director. A southwestern route from Concho takes us to Anadarko, where the old Kiowa Indian Agency and Post Office holds 16 section murals by Stephen Mopope. A Kiowa, Mopope was born near Redstone Baptist Mission before Oklahoma was even a state. He was the most prolific member of the Kiowa Five, a world-famous group of artists that studied at OU under Oscar Jacobson, the university's School of Art director.
You know, it begins over here, like in the wintertime to the south, when everything is plenty. Then you see here on the west side, you see them buffalo hunting. You see a camp set up. You see them moving camp.
Vanessa Jennings is Stephen Mopope's granddaughter. She knows the value of these historic paintings, and she never lets her family forget.
I look at them all the time. I drag all of my children, all of my nieces, my nephews, my grandchildren, I drag them all in here. And I tell them, have you ever heard this story?
As part of her mural project, Barbara Scott interviewed dozens of residents who passed by murals in their towns almost daily.
for years people had walked past these things, had not really seen them, had not examined them. And one of the things I came to the conclusion that it's just simply part of the environment that is just buried in your head. You don't think of it on a daily basis, but it's part of what makes up who you are when you were growing up in these various places.
As these murals approach 80, it remains to be seen how they hold up to environmental effects like sunlight and Oklahoma's changing temperatures. But just like the old post offices themselves, they serve as reminders of our state's proud past.
You know, maybe not all murals are significant. Maybe not all the section murals are significant. But on the other hand, if you put them all together, all over the United States, or even just in Oklahoma, they do tell an important story.
Many of those murals have been restored over the past few years, and hopefully they'll be protected for years to come. That's all we have for this episode of Indian Road. Don't forget, if you have a story idea or suggestion, you can email us at the address below. Ha ho! Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Indian Road.